Hello everyone and welcome to our last session of the day. My name is Anna Sagar, reporter at Mortgage Solutions and assistant editor for Specialist Lending Solutions. I hope you've all enjoyed today's sessions and have some key takeaways to take back to your businesses. To round up today, I will be having a fireside chat with Amy Baptiste, Administration Manager at LDNfinance, and Fran Bradshaw, Operations Manager at the Buy-to-Let Broker. In this chat, we will go over how they both got into mortgage administration, what the role involves, tips and guidance, future of the sector, and how we can go about fostering a greater sense of community among mortgage administrators. So firstly, Amy, Fran, welcome.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Great. So to start the session, how did you start your careers as mortgage administrators? Amy, I'll go to you first.
So I actually fell into mortgage administration, which is what I hear from quite a lot of people actually. I was originally a property manager for a big estate agency and kind of got to where I could get to within that and decided that I wanted to try something different, and they approached me with the option of mortgage administration. So I moved into the mortgage administration department as a junior mortgage case manager and just absolutely fell in love with it. I really enjoyed it, learned a lot in quite a short space of time, and just kind of worked my way up through the ranks through there. So yes, I didn't wake up at 5 years old and said, I want to be a mortgage admin today. I fell into it, but it was one of the best things I ever fell into.
Great. Fran, what about you? How did you get into mortgage administration?
Well, a similar story to Amy, really. I guess I sort of fell into mortgage administration as well. So originally, I joined the mortgage sector, if you like, as an administrator at Precise Mortgages, so based down in my hometown, and that was just a temporary job, just to try and save some money to buy a house. But it was so close to my home; it was fantastic just to sort of learn some new skills and progress on from there. So it actually really it intrigued me an awful lot, and I actually progressed up to being an underwriter about a year later, and then I was underwriting mortgages. I had a mandate of $250,000 that I was signing off fairly quickly, and I just felt like I could learn each and every day, so I just wanted to take that in my stride even more. And the only reason why I left the underwriting specialist lending sector, if you like, is to move to administration from the broker side of things, but that was to do with my relocation up north. So I moved from the Midlands up to north, and that's where I found the buy-to-let broker. So we obviously specialise in buy-to-let mortgages, but then I've just progressed through the ranks from here on then. So starting as a case manager, which is a mortgage administrator from our perspective, progressing through to senior case manager, senior technical lead, and then on to current role, which is operations manager. So basically overseeing a lot of things that go on from the day-to-day there.
Great. And Fran, you kind of mentioned the day-to-day. What does your typical day look like as an administration manager?
It's a lot of everything, really, to be honest, as I think every mortgage administrator can attest to. A lot of my role is getting involved with remedying problem cases. So if our case management team does have an issue that they've not seen before or they need some assistance with, then I'm that go-to person who can liaise with managers, BDMs, contacts within lenders, try and help that. I do act as floating support as well. So if there is rates being pulled, so I can flex in, get the rate secured and move on from there. But a lot of my role as well is to do with the coaching and training of new staff and existing staff, and a lot of the time I'm spending liaising with like lenders and solicitors as well, so face-to-face and Zoom meetings to see how we can improve processes, not just for our internal team but across the industry as a whole. Obviously within the specialist lending industry, they are actively seeking ways to improve that, and as quite a big introducer in the north, a lot of lenders do look to us to get the feedback on there. And then a lot of the other time is producing training materials to help break that down for our newbies, and helping other case managers understand to the level I understand it, so rolling that out. So that's a lot of what I do, really.
Yeah. That sounds very diverse and very varied. Amy, is your typical day similar to Fran's, or is it slightly different?
I mean, as Fran said, we probably do have quite similar roles in the sense of where we lead the teams and we train and we develop. I actually lead from the front, so I power plan for 5 specialist brokers who do development, commercial, bridging, so more on the specialist side. So although I run my team, I'm also paraplanning for my own brokers as well. So my day is more of a split. So I tend to nurture my team throughout the day, obviously step in on any HR issues, any problem cases, any training. And then my other half of the day is spent catering to my brokers, submitting cases, and obviously still doing that part of my role that I didn't want to lose, becoming admin management. So yeah, very similar. I also home in obviously on training. We have quite a lot of new staff. We are growing quite rapidly as a firm for me. So heavily involved in the training. So whether that's one-to-ones with newer staff, sitting down, looking at any changes from a power planning perspective, from a case management perspective, and really just helping the day-to-day running of the firm for not only the case managers and power planners, but the brokers as well.
Fantastic. And I mean, obviously, over the past couple of years, the mortgage market has been very, very busy. So I'm just interested in how the pandemic was for you as a mortgage administrator personally, and how do you think administrators fail as a whole, Amy?
So I actually think as a sector, we were forced to change the way of working. I mean, I personally had always worked from home prior to COVID, only one day a week, don't get me wrong, not 5 days, but it turned into. But so we had quite a good back office system to support home working, which was half of the issue during COVID. The only downside, I think, during COVID was missing that one-to-one relationship with your brokers, not being with them, not being able to just turn to your right or your left for support, or, you know, to kind of have an update in the office. But I think it opened a new realm of communication. You know, you jumped on a Zoom, you jumped on a Teams call, and it goes to show that a really good administrator can do hybrid working, and it works. But I do think that administrators we would have been lost without our team of administrators during that time, because we are the ones that obviously, what I like to call us the glue that holds a case together. And we definitely did that during pandemic at a time where it was so uncertain, and communication really was key for clients and brokers as a whole, and solicitors and everyone. So I actually think that the pandemic was difficult, but we as an actual industry fared quite well. And actually, I think it's been a bit of a positive change in the sense of a different way of working.
All right, and Fran, would you agree with that? I mean, do you think the pandemic kind of was more of a positive for, was a positive for mortgage administrators in the sense it kind of highlighted their importance?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what Amy said is absolutely spot on. I think the only difference for me is that I never intended to work from home, and we didn't really advertise a sort of a working from home process, if you like. So it was really difficult for me personally because I wasn't prepared for that. It did cause a few mental issues to be, mental health issues initially on that process, and it did upset the work-life balance, especially with the stamp duty deadlines that followed, and the huge amount of pressure that was in the industry. I think, like Amy said as well, there was that force to effectively change very, very quickly and adapt, which I think administrators are, notoriously good at. We have to be able to flex in and out of unusual situations and just meet it head on, really. And also, like Amy said as well, I mean, whilst brokers are, generally solitary creatures, admin generally tend to be pack animals, so we do lean on each other for support, and the opportunity to jump on a Zoom and have that team meeting, it provides that support, that guidance, that solidarity as a team that I think is key to that team atmosphere. I think had we not had that, it would have been a huge struggle for administrators. But obviously there's been some improvements that have come off the back of it as well. I mean, a lot of lenders implemented great automated valuation models, which really helped keep progressing things when otherwise we couldn't have. So, and a lot of lenders have actually forced their processes to change as well. So, I mean, in our industry, we get involved with limited company lending, which means that you get face-to-face with a solicitor to give independent legal advice. A big change to that is the fact that is now done by Zoom, and it actually saves a lot of costs for our clients and actually improves the speed of transactions without having to sit down with people. So yeah, there were difficult stages, there were, but there's been a lot of positive that's come out of it as well, but obviously that's all in hindsight. So, but yeah, as a whole, I think we've come on leaps and bounds in that.
Yeah, hindsight is 2020, isn't it? Really. You kind of segued quite nicely into my next question, which was kind of talking about how mortgage administrators are viewed by lenders. And do you think that's changed since the pandemic? And do you think that mortgage administrators are a valued part of the mortgage community?
Yeah, I mean, obviously a little bit biased considering my background, but yeah, there's been a huge push to make mortgage administrators, the forefront and the focus really. As part of the mortgage transaction, like Amy said, the glue that holds everything together. I mean, one of the noteworthy points really is that some of the big award ceremonies like Mortgage Strategy and the British Lenders, the BSLAs, if you like, they now have admin specific awards as well. I think that came off the back of 2020, and that does mean that administrators that would have been left in the office whilst the brokers are treated for a lovely event in London, we now get a chance to go to these black tie events and meet people who are, like us within the industry and support staff, and it really gives us a chance to sort of be recognised as we are the admin, and it's always, we're never just admin, we are key to that transaction as well. But I mean, even something as little as internal respect for each other can go a hell of a long way to morale and mental health and motivation. Again, that idea of just breaking down the barriers that we aren't just admin. It can, it's not just a case of, well, we can just throw it on, they can get it through, whatever. It just having that respect for each other can really go a long way, and just it gives the admin a chance to be, the reason why the case went through, the person that gets remembered at the end of the transaction. I think that's a huge part of where the administrator sort of culture needs to go and keeps progressing through, and just celebrating what we do.
Amy, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, going back to the question about how are administrators viewed by lenders, I do feel that some lenders really engage with administrators. They know that we are the point of contact. I do feel some lenders have got a little bit of catching up to do. For example, I've had a few cases that the broker will be sent a message and it won't come to me, even though my email's on that system, and that can be very frustrating. So I do think there is a little way to go with certain lenders about kind of keeping that balance about who the communication's with, and hopefully that will come. We've definitely seen a massive improvement in the last 5 years, I'd say, on that kind of communication level from a lender's point of view. And I say that because it can be very frustrating for an administrator to have to go above and beyond and chase that broker when they might be on annual leave, they might be at the office on meetings. So actually just little things like that the lenders can do to keep that communication open, that doesn't mean that we're sitting on hold for 45 minutes trying to get an update on a case, would be really, really useful. In terms of mortgage administrators being valued part of the mortgage community, quite similar to what Fran said, I think we're definitely seeing a shift. As we said, the awards now have, broker administrator categories. I was very thankful to be a part of that last year and this year. And I do think we need to keep that momentum going. I don't think it's enough as of yet. I think as a community, we can kind of be maybe regarded as almost like a second-class citizen, not by everyone, obviously, but I do think that the more that we nurture and develop our mortgage administrators and make them feel part of the mortgage community, the better it is. So whether that is mortgage administrators attending broker-led events, I don't see why that shouldn't happen. If you are part of that deal when you're dealing with the lenders, you're very much a person within the community, within your own right, even if you are not the broker-based business. So I definitely think we have come a long way. I do still think there's still a way to go, and obviously the support of people like Mortgage Solutions and things like that is only going to keep it driving forward.
Well, fingers crossed that that we continue to move forward. And you kind of thinking about the mortgage administrators, what do you think the biggest misconceptions about mortgage administrators are?
I think it's actually the level of work that we do. As Fran said, we are not just administrators. You are the person that people call at, 6 o'clock and you're in the office late and you're answering that call to help a client who's nervous that they might lose their property. We are the person the solicitor calls when they're not getting responses from the other legal side. We're the person the lender leans on. So actually, I think the misconception is that mortgage admin are just there to, call a lender, hi, can I have an update? Brilliant, send an email. We are not that at all. We are the people that push it through. We support every pillar of a case, whether that, that's your broker, your valuers, your solicitors, your lenders. So I've always felt that the in-depth amount of how much work an administrator takes on and how much responsibility an administrator takes for a case is normally the biggest misconception. Because, as I said, we are so much more than just an admin. We are the be-all and end-all, I like to say.
Fran, do you have anything to add to that at all?
Yeah, I mean, without getting too political as well, it's also a job role that can be enjoyed by men. I think there's a lot of females within the industry, and I think it should be celebrated as, a role in itself, but also a stepping stone to other avenues, whether that takes you to a lender sort of led side of things or a broker led side of things. I think that there could be sometimes a misconception that females are generally better at organising and everything beyond that, but it is for everyone. And I think we need more males in that sort of sector as well. I think it really sort of brings a lot of quality there and a lot of different points of view, and then like Amy said, we are the people who are on the other end of the phone listening to, if someone's upset about a transaction not going through as quickly, we have to be that support for people. I think that does often go unseen, really. We are that jack of all trades. We have to get involved, the solicitors, the estate agents, all over. And the other thing I was going to mention was the fact that the job can be deemed unskilled, if you like. There's lots of opportunities to be able to take qualifications and learn other knowledge that will underpin your understanding in your processes and just make you the best processor that you can be. It allows you to go that extra mile for the clients without providing the advice, but still being that memorable person at the end of the transaction. I think it's a huge it's a feather to your cap, really, and it just makes you feel really good at the end of the day and like you've done everything that you can.
Great. And it's interesting you mentioned attracting more men into the industry. I mean, how this is just how do you think the industry is doing enough to kind of get more diversity and inclusion, like trying to attract a wider range of people, or what more can the industry do to attract more people to the mortgage administrator role?
I think generally, I mean, like we said before, just increasing that momentum that we're already on the right track to doing that, increasing the visibility that admin is a role, admin is a worthwhile role. Yes, I can earn awards by doing this role. Yes, I can achieve what I want to do. And just being able to, it isn't just a case of that you're just an admin. You can learn a huge amount. I mean, I can hand on heart saying, okay, I've been at the buy-to-let broker for 6 years. Every single day I've had head scratches or something like that I need to go, right, how can I apply extra knowledge? What can I learn from elsewhere? And I think for someone who wants to learn a huge amount in the industry and is, that they want just to soak up all that knowledge, it's such a fantastic role to do that. And I think the more we can increase that awareness and get that out there, then the more, I mean, even just talking, between ourselves in events like this, and just being that, the forefront of, we've done this as well. It is it's a viable career process, and that's what we want to do. And just increasing that camaraderie within the industry as well. I'd say, having a LinkedIn presence and being able to, brokers do reach out an awful lot and say, what do people think about this? Well, why shouldn't admin do that as well? Do exactly the same thing.
Okay, Amy, do you have anything to add to that? As how to kind of attract more people to the mortgage administrator role, a more diverse range of people?
So quite similar to what Fran said, I think it's about more advertising where this role can take you. So within my firm, we do quite a big training plan where most of the brokers who are trainee actually start off as mortgage case managers, progress into power planners, and then go into trainee brokering. We have quite a mix. We're actually quite male heavy on our admin team, which I've never seen anywhere else, which I really nurture within my team. And like Fran said, it does give a nice dimension to a team. Quite similar to, obviously, again, just to mirror what Fran said, I think as long as we are we are being out there and proactive on LinkedIn, on these kind of webinars, these things like this, we need to attract people to see that it's not a dead-end career. There is multiple ways you can go. I've formed my career out of starting as a junior case manager to where I am now. There are endless possibilities, and it's not only being a broker that you can end up at, which I think is, going back to misconceptions, I think that's another misconception. But yeah.
There's something that you mentioned, Fran, about camaraderie. Where do you think the mortgage administrator community is at now, and is it in a better position? Is there, a stronger sense of community than there was before?
I would say so. It's getting there, and I think, again, harkening back from something that Amy mentioned, just something as simple as when the BDMs are visiting the office to visit lenders, just taking that opportunity to sit down and speak with the administrators, because at the end of the day, we're the ones that slog out with the systems, and if they are, quite heavy and unruly, then we want to be able to provide that feedback there. This is our bread and butter, really. It's what we do. If a system is difficult to upload documents to, then we can provide that feedback. I think just being able to sit down with them and realise that they are a valued part of that transaction, that they aren't just this unseen party that will just get anything through. I think that would help even more so. And like we said, lenders are already taking active steps to do that. So you see an awful lot of lenders now going, right, well, we have administration passwords, and you can log on and see all the cases, and more needs to be done in terms of that. And like Amy said, not sitting on hold for 45 minutes trying to get an update that is sat on the broker's email who's not currently in the office. So more of that visibility, I think, would elevate that. But yeah, so definitely for that.
Amy, do you have anything to add to that?
I mean, just to mirror, basically kind of round up what I guess we've been saying about the community as a whole. The mortgage administrator community is 10 times better than when I first joined this sector 10 odd years ago. God. So yeah, I do think we're in a better position now. I think there's always room for improvement. As Fran was saying, being more lender inclusive of administrators, BDMs visiting and, sitting with the admin team as well. Even internally, from a company point of view, having admin meetings, not just sales floor meetings, having a chat, what hard cases have you got this week? What can we do to help? Just opening that line of communication, I think, is what's going to drive the community forward and keep improving it. I do think that we have got a little bit more work to do in terms of outside of firms, so more mortgage administrator events that are maybe more focused towards mortgage administrators, where you can attend and meet other people who are just like you, almost like like what we're doing now, but in person, where you can kind of actually meet people in the industry and get to know other people. I think they're the little things that will keep driving this community forward to make it more of a wholesome, inclusive environment for mortgage administrators.
Great. And kind of thinking about customer communication and contact, which is obviously a pillar of what mortgage administrators do. You guys are kind of the linchpin who kind of like make sure everyone's communicating. What kind of key changes have you made to improve customer communication and contact? And what is the impact that, I'll go to you first, Amy, if that's okay.
Yeah, definitely. So we obviously, our forefront is obviously client communication, how we are obviously dealing with our clients. We're very much a pick up the phone kind of firm. I think we've lost that in this kind of modern day society, that everything's done by WhatsApp and emails. And actually what you really want to do is have somebody pick up the phone to you and have a chat. It's that building that rapport with clients that really makes a difference. Obviously, internal systems are a massive help. So it depends on what CRM systems you're using internally, whether or not they send updates to the client automatically, and how that kind of communication is nurtured internally as well. I think in order to improve customer communication, we were kind of, again, forced to kind of forefront that during COVID. And the way we obviously communicate probably did change, obviously working from home. I jumped on Zooms with clients that I've never done before. It was unheard of before COVID, and now it's actually a completely normal thing. let's jump on a call, let's chat through everything, all the requirements that I've sent you. I think it's just thinking outside of the box, outside of your emails, that is really, really important with customer communication. I know personally that when I'm dealing with people on, other things outside that I'm doing personally, a phone call goes a long way. A good wholesome chat makes you feel better, and it's more proactive, that you can work through your cases a lot quicker. The client's happy, you're happy, everyone's on the same page. Emails can be misconstrued very easily and missed. Don't get me wrong, we do have to follow up, things in writing. We all know that. But I also think it's actually just a better client journey if you're having that phone conversation and then linking that to an email to say, right, it was great to talk to you. Thank you for taking time. Just to recap what we said. And I think them little things of, coming out of the email era and going back into just picking up the phone is a massive difference.
Fran, do you agree picking up the phone is the way to go?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we're huge advocates of that here as well. I think we take the extra step a little bit, and we encourage our case managers to be the forefront of the transaction once that's gone into the lender, really. So a lot of situations are, trying to address complex situations, because we are in a complex environment, let's face it. So I help our admins sort of push themselves out of their comfort zone and get to grips with these, complex or, difficult situations to understand. And if they can do that on the phone, then they're pretty much prepared for everything, really. And like I say, following up with email, I think what Amy touched on as well is taking that client contact to the next level as well. If the client just go, well, don't contact me next week because I am going on holiday, and just making notes of that, I think it really does provide that extra level of service to the clients that they will remember, or asking them how the holiday went, or things like that. It's just the memorable part of it, really. I think the other thing that we're looking to do, and we're focusing heavily on this year, is getting that honest feedback from clients. There's always a tendency to see a 5-star review and go, oh yeah, they're cherry picking their reviews or whatnot. But we're trying to actively garner a feedback review on every single case that we progress. And obviously we're seeing clients, at least twice a year in some instances in the buy-to-let market. But we want to hear, when things haven't gone to plan, how did we overcome that? And just reaching out. And if clients haven't taken the time to leave us a review, well, what could we have done better? So I think there's a lot of that we've been focusing on in order to improve our process. But I guess internally as well, in more recent months, we've been focusing on how the information that the broker collects on the fact find and how that's transposed to the case manager so they can do their job effectively. There's a whole heap of nuances that you pick up as when you're doing a fact find call or whatever as a broker, but it's just being able to record that in a concise fashion. So if a case manager is posed with a question on a call, that they have that information available to them, and it just gives them the tools to do their job as effectively as possible, really.
Great. So kind of talking, still on the kind of topic of communication, have you kind of found that that clients are kind of asking to be, the way they want to be communicated with, is that changing? And how can administrators adapt to that? I mean, obviously we talked about the importance of phone calls and stuff, but maybe some younger clients, not meaning to overgeneralize here, may not be as comfortable with phone calls or anything like that. I'd just be interested in your thoughts, Fran.
I mean, I don't feel like the way that clients are looking to communicate is changing as drastically as we think. I mean, everyone still does, there are the clients who prefer an email, there are the clients that prefer a phone call. I guess it's remembering which of those clients do prefer that. We know that some clients might have a level of understanding that is greater, so being mindful of the jargon that we might use, or being able to break those barriers down for them, and that's why we tend to get them on the phone, really, and go through that and chat it through before we do get the formal email, so they know they can answer any questions on the phone there. I think just like I say, focusing on personal touches is a big thing, but again, breaking down that jargon, helping people understand, is always going to be beneficial to the way that we communicate with clients.
Amy, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think we've kind of moved out of a 9-to-5 culture and into a 24/7 culture. I kind of feel with communication, maybe COVID was again, part of that to play when you're working from home. You naturally work longer hours. Everyone has their emails on their phones now. So I don't think the way customers want to communicate is changing. I think the level of communication expected is higher now, which obviously, I mean, I personally WhatsApp clients. If they're developers who are on site all the time and I need to be available, they can WhatsApp me. I've got no issue WhatsApping them at 9:00 at night if I need to. It's managing your own client base. You know your clients well. You're the person who's the front face of your clients, so you know what they need and what they expect. Obviously, keeping things within a normal level. Not working till 1 a.m, well, I'm sure we've probably all been guilty of that from time to time. But I think it is really just focusing on knowing your customers, the personal touches, as Fran said. You build that rapport, and then you can cater to what they need because you know what they need. So no, I don't think the way customers really want to communicate is changing. I think it's all going to be very open, and I just think it's the expectation of how much they want to communicate has probably shifted.
Yeah, I definitely can agree with that as someone who uses WhatsApp very frequently. With I think obviously putting the client at the center of everything that you do is really, really important. And Fran was talking a little bit earlier about how getting reviews and engaging, those personal touches are really important. I suppose how do you create that very client-centric culture, and how would you recommend that other companies do the same? I'll go to you, Amy, first.
Yeah, so I think it's all within your actual internal processes. In our industry, everything is client-based. We are working for that client, whether it's a residential client buying their first home, whether it's a developer developing a block of 20 flats. Either way, you are working for that client. So we are a client-centric industry. I think internal models will support client-centric cultures. So, for example, being involved from the minute the advice is given right up to completion, really putting that client first, updating every milestone, and being that point of contact. And quite similar to what Fran said earlier, if your clients popped off on holiday and you give them an email or a call, like, how was your holiday? And then you kind of get into a rapport, and that is client-centric because you're giving them more than a business transaction. You're building rapport and actually building a relationship, which means that they actually come back to you, which is the whole probably purpose of a client-centric culture, is that repeat business, keeping your clients in-house. I also think it depends again on the infrastructure of your business. So in our business, we have 4 pillars. We have the specialist finance, residential finance, protection, and private clients. So we're very fortunate that we can actually cater to our clients from all different aspects. So we try to offer our clients the whole package internally, so they feel they're being looked after in one bulk instead of kind of being maybe third-partied out, which I think makes a big difference as well.
Fran, do you have anything to add to that? I know that you kind of talked a little bit earlier about what the buy-to-let broker was doing to kind of get reviews from clients and how to put them first, but if there's anything you want to add.
Yeah, I mean, like Amy said, getting involved in the transaction as early on and showing that you are just as experienced as the broker who's dispensing advice, I think that is hugely key to that client-centric culture. A lot of our case managers, because of the level of service that we offer, they do actually get repeat clients returning to them saying, oh, I've got another deal, which I guess is testament to how the administrators do deal with the clients and the rapport that they've built there. But and like Amy said, okay, we're not fortunate to have multiple pillars within our company just yet, but even just holding a system of internal values, just being professional, being optimistic, working as a team, being honest. We're not in the interest of lying to the customer or deceiving them in any way. If something has gone wrong and you've had an influence in that, well, you can own that. As long as you are putting it right, that can happen. Mortgage transactions can be complex in terms of that. I mean, we always say, we're talking about clients as well as though they're present in the room. If the person that you're talking about in that email, if they saw that email, are they going to like what they see? So even when a client is not, looking over your shoulder or seeing that correspondence, just making sure that the client is the central part of that process. That, if they were to get all these emails, as part of like an information request, are they going to be happy with what they see? You're always going to be that ambassador for the company, and obviously putting our clients first. But yeah, so that's my thoughts on that.
Great. And how so kind of like overall, so why would you recommend a career as a mortgage administrator? I'll go to you first, Amy.
Oh God, various reasons really. I think it's very rewarding. It does teach you a whole aspect of different skill sets that you can take onwards to even other roles. If you don't stay within that role, it's actually a very full-on job that helps you to learn to organise, manage yourself, manage other people, and ultimately how to work with a variety of different people, which is a skill set that is beneficial to anyone. Starting as a mortgage admin opens so many doors. Part of my role is nurturing progression within the firm, and obviously helping people get to where they want to be. So mortgage administration can open doors obviously into trainee brokers, into compliance, into training and development, accounts even. If you're doing your own invoices, you claim your own prop fees. It really is the hub and the start of really anything that you want to do. And as well, it is a rewarding job in the sense that you are there to help people. And if you are very organised, or if you enjoy kind of dealing with different people and not having the same day to day, it's an amazing job to have. You are, exposed to so many different walks of life and so many different people and options that I definitely feel it's really an all-rounder job. And as I said, with the community of mortgage administrators definitely strengthening, it's going to be a very inclusive role. And there are some amazing companies out there, that really nurture their admin staff and help to develop. I just think it's a really good hub to start, and then you can kind of branch off to where you want to go.
Great. Fran, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I fully agree with everything that Amy said there, and the progression that it can offer, and obviously the fact that it's immensely rewarding. I think what we sometimes don't realise as well is how much this role actually does test our resilience as people, and we do find that, we are dealing with an awful lot, and sometimes you're like, oh, I've got a whole list of things to do and I've not really got through much, when you've actually done a huge amount of work. And I think that's what it does sort of teach you as well. And sometimes you can apply that to your external life as well. So it could be all be just doom and gloom and, oh yeah, we've had bad news on a case, but it sort of gives you a bit of perspective on things when you are sort of seeing these awful situations, and you're helping put that right, and it sort of gives you some perspective on your own life as well. So aside from what Amy said, I think that's what I brought away from that. And you have to be quite readily adaptable, which all of these are absolutely key skills to your progression in any career, let alone just in mortgage administration. So I think it's just that learning those key bits of building blocks for yourself as a person, and you can apply with all different walks completely.
Great. And so I'm just going to we've got some questions coming in, so I'm just going to look at some of the questions from the audience. So we have one question here about how many cases and brokers do you have per administrator? I'll go to Amy first.
Sorry, you broke up a little bit there, Anna. Could you repeat that?
How many cases and brokers do you have per administrator?
So I am very conscious of not overloading an admin, because I think the more you stretch an admin thin, actually the less service that you can give. So the power planners within my firm have 2 to 3 brokers, and the case managers are the same, 2 to 3 brokers. When someone is training, they work one-on-one with a broker, and then as their training develops, we increase the workload gradually. I don't think it's worthwhile overloading any administrator, because no one benefits from that. In terms of caseload, as we all know, it can vary. I mean, it's a tough one. I think during COVID, we had about a 33% increase in business within the first 6 weeks of the COVID pandemic. And now we have just celebrated one of our best quarters. So actually, we're definitely progressing and growing. In terms of kind of case management, there could be anywhere between 30 to 50 cases in a pipeline at one time that are active, and that doesn't necessarily include the completion side that you're chasing as well. We're kind of based that we break ours down based by submission, offer to completion, and retention business. It's easier to manage that way. But I am very conscious as a manager to not overload any of my team. We are very much a team. If someone has got a particularly busy day and they need someone to jump on their solicitor chases, we all muck in, and I think that's the way to kind of go forward with that.
Great. Fran, what about you? How many cases and brokers do you have per administrator at the buy-to-let broker?
Well, we operate a slightly different process, and this is born through the pandemic, really. So previously we were one-on-one broker support. So a case manager would have one broker and they would key all the cases and progress all the matters for them. We've now sort of split into teams. At the moment, we've actually got 3 teams, and the largest team at the moment has 3 brokers, 3 case managers, and then a supporting administrator there. So our administrators actually help prepare the files for the case managers, and then the case managers lead on from that. So the idea is that any of the 3 brokers on that team work with any of the case managers on that team, but there is that one-on-one dedicated support. So it may not necessarily be the same case manager you get each time, but you get part of the same team. The reason why we've had to do that is because of the sheer level of work. As you know, Amy sort of mentioned, we've also celebrated a record quarter as well. It is a huge amount of work. Our case managers, we do split it out, but our case managers are looking at anywhere between about 40 pre-offer cases, if you like, and the rest of their pipeline being post-offer. So, but if you looked at the pipeline as a whole, so pre-offer and post-offer, sometimes we could be burgeoning on 90 cases, really. But we are actively hiring. We are getting lots of new people in through the door and focusing on that coaching and training to make sure that everyone is proficient. And what we found is that as part of the team structure, it means that everyone is generally available for buddying. So you can get different vibes from different case managers, pick up different tips and tricks, and it can help really improve someone when they're joining the business. But that's the way we operate here.
And another question is, do you think a lot of people view being an administrator as a stepping stone to becoming a broker, and should that change? I'll go to you first, Amy.
I do think the tunnel vision of you're a mortgage administrator, you must be a broker is a thing. If I had £1 for every time I was asked, you can be a broker? No, not really what I want to be doing. It definitely is something that I've experienced personally, so it definitely happens. I do think as the role is developing and people becoming more aware of the work that's involved, that is becoming less. I do think, don't get me wrong, because if you want to be a broker, being a mortgage administrator first is your best route in. There's no better broker than someone who has done case management, power planning. They are the whole package. But just because you're a mortgage administrator doesn't mean that your end goal or your tunnel vision is being a broker. As I said earlier, there's so many different avenues you can go down, be that as power planning, compliance, various other points that obviously are that can be a stepping stone too. But even mortgage administration as a career within its right is a career within its right. It's not just a stepping stone, and there are lots of things that you can develop and progress through being within a mortgage administrator role. Obviously, I do feel it is company dependent, but how they nurture their admin staff and the opportunities that they are given internally is a massive big factor to that.
Fran, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of onus put on the individual firm in itself. I think just being able to recognise where there is a need for additional management support or overarching support there. I mean, at least the operations role didn't exist before I actually got that. So my company felt that it tailored best towards my needs, and it's just being able to go, right, well, there is a need here. What can we do to facilitate that? And yeah, we do get a lot of, because I do sit in a lot of the interviews as well. We do get a lot of people who are going, well, I need to progress to be a broker, but it may not necessarily suit them. That we need to sort of advocate that there are other positions that tailor to people's wants, people's needs, and people's fortes, that they can grow, develop, and take on more responsibility. And I've certainly done it. It sounds like Amy's done that as well herself. So I think the more we can sort of show that is a viable career progression route, then the more people will want to join us and move forward with that administrator role.
Okay. And another question is, what are your tips and tricks as a mortgage administrator? Very open-ended question. So I'll go to Fran first. What are your top tips and tricks for a mortgage administrator?
Being able to multitask. I think if you can flex your ability to multitask, you'll be able to achieve anything. And that could be, sitting on hold with a lender, being able to type an email whilst also sitting on live chat with something else. So I think if you can teach yourself to multitask, even like one or two things, to like do it together, then that's going to be your biggest tip moving forward. It will just make you so much more efficient, and your days will move smoothly, and you'll find that you'll know where everything's up to, because it'll all be in here. But yeah, that's my tip really.
Amy, what about you? What are your tips and tricks for mortgage administrators?
To-do lists. They are the be-all and end-all of everything. Oh God, I love a to-do list. So come in the morning, take 10 minutes, make yourself tea or a coffee or whatever your tipple is, and just sit down and write out what you have to do that day. Get yourself organised in your mind, clear mind, you know, it will really, really help. The other thing that I would highly suggest that I think we as mortgage administrators don't do enough of is leaning for support. You know, asking for help. If you've got someone on the phone to a solicitor and you know you've got to chase them, shout over, can you just ask them about my case? You know, work together as a team and don't be afraid to lean on the people around you. You know, you're not expected to be superhuman and do everything yourself. You know, we all need help from time to time. So not being afraid to ask for help and to do this.
Great. I think that's a really nice note to end on. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Fran, for your time today, and hopefully some very good key takeaways for people. If there are any questions that we didn't manage to get to, we will do our best to answer them after the event. And I think a feedback form will be circulated to people who attended, so please be sure to fill that out. And from everyone here at Mortgage Solutions, thank you so much for attending.
Thank you.
Thank you.